Podcast City Network.
You are listening to the Rip Griffin Show. Make sure to subscribe to the show on all the major podcast platforms. Here's your host, Rip Griffin.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to this episode of the Rip Griffin Show. It's been a while since I've been back behind the microphone and done a podcast. So I wanted to jump on this Saturday afternoon. We're calling this a Saturday afternoon special. Sounds pretty fitting. Saturday. No, there's a lot of college football going on right now, which is great. But we are in the midst of a playoff push. We've got October that is just literally a week away. These teams are starting to wind down the season with about... we can say there's probably about 9 games left of this season. So it's great that we're nearing the mark that we've reached, which is 162 games. But we still got a lot of postseason that is fixing to come about, and it's going to be exciting because a lot of great things are in the works as far as the season, how the playoff picture is going to shape up. We've got division races. We've got teams that are still trying to clinch their divisions. We've got teams that are still vying for wild card positions as well. It's going to be great this last week of the season. So I want to just jump on here real quick. We'll kind of do a little quick recap of the week. There's been some storylines that have taken place that have been very interesting as far and kind of make you kind of wonder what's been going on. But as far as we're not even going to worry about trying to describe it or anything like that. So real quick, just on tap for this episode, we'll kind of touch on the Tampa Bay saga. I think hopefully you have seen that and heard about that. If not, we'll kind of touch on it real quick here. St. Louis is on a tear right now. The Cardinals are doing something very, very special and very magical as we near the end of the season. An interesting home run that was not a home run against in the Atlanta Braves game against the Arizona Diamondbacks. We'll touch on that real quick. And then to kind of round out this episode, we will touch on the postseason, the picture, how things are going to look, how or when or how everything will shape out. So we'll kind of just do a quick recap of that as like I said, we got 1 week to go. So one of the things I wanted to touch on first is this Tampa Bay saga. So earlier this week, the Tampa Bay Rays were facing the Toronto Blue Jays in Tampa at the Trop. And there's a play at the plate that involved Kevin Kiermaier of the Tampa Bay Rays. He slid into the catcher. I forgot his name. I apologize. I was not prepared to describe or mention him in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But anyways, there was a play at the plate. Kevin Kiermaier slid in, and he was safe. But there was a little collision between him and the catcher. A little piece of card fell on the ground. Kevin Kiermaier was like, whew. Looked down, saw the card, picked it up, didn't think anything of it, went back to the dugout. Well, come to find out, it was actually the scouting report that the Blue Jays had on the Tampa Bay hitters as far as how to pitch to these hitters. And Tampa Bay was furious. They really think that the Rays should have given that card back to the Blue Jays, and we don't know. Was the card looked at? Was the card used in some sort of manner to have the advantage over the Blue Jays? A lot of speculation there. Very fishy, very fishy. So apparently the two teams, the managers, Kevin Cash and Charlie Montoro, worked it out. They talked about it, water under the bridge. That was hopefully going to be the end of it, but Rays and Blue Jays, mainly the Blue Jays, had a different reason behind it. They thought it was kind of malicious and that they were taken advantage of. And well, I'll play this clip here, courtesy of the Tampa Bay Rays broadcast, and you can kind of make your own assumption.
3 above average major leaguers, so that Kiermaier said is a dangerous thing.
And now Borucki hits Kiermaier on the first pitch, and it's just natural to wonder if this has anything to do with yesterday and the card that he picked up at the plate. You knew nothing was going to happen in a meaningful moment, but with the Jays down 6 in the 8th inning, Kiermaier is sure wondering if that was intentional. Kevin Cash sure thinks that was intentional.
Yeah, he wants him thrown out of the game, and that was obviously what was going on as Borucki hit Kiermaier, and nobody knows if he was ordered to or he did it on his own, but Kevin Cash understands what it was all about. The game is out of hand. It's 7-1, and Kiermaier takes one in the middle of the back. That's not a good look on the Blue Jays for me.
I don't believe Borucki was tossed out. We didn't see that, and now the 4 umpires are huddling on the infield.
Okay, as you can kind of hear, the announcers kind of describing everything that kind of took place the previous games in the reference to the card thing. Now, was that intentional? It looked pretty intentional by watching the clip. And if you were listening to it, you can kind of make your own assumption whether or not that was intentional, because I mean, the game was out of hand. It was 7-1 Tampa. The Blue Jays obviously were still pissed off because, you know, the Rays had something that belonged to the Blue Jays, and if you go back to that box score, the game had a twist. The very first game, the card game incident, there was the Blue Jays were winning, and then all of a sudden the script had flipped over to the Rays. So clearly there was they picked up on the scouting report, they saw the card, and were able to make adjustments. The hitters were for the Tampa Bay Rays. So that pitch right there looked very intentional when Kiermaier got hit. And I don't think that's right. If the two teams had talked about it, especially the two managers, had expressed their apologies, and you would think that, hey, let's move on from that. That's water under the bridge, like I mentioned just a little while ago. But for some reason, the Blue Jays still had a sour taste in their mouth, and that really hurt them after that, because they are and probably still am in the wild card race right now, which we'll kind of touch on here just in a second. But they're in the race for a postseason and trying to get a spot. It's a bad look for them. I think the play was intentional. But kind of interesting how that all kind of took place. But that was one of the very first things that happened kind of towards the beginning of the week. The second thing this week has been the Cinderella story of the St. Louis Cardinals. Right now, they are on the midst of a 14-game win streak. They have come out of nowhere. Right now, they're currently sitting 7 games behind first place Milwaukee. They are also in the wild card hunt, which they currently hold the second wild card spot behind the Los Angeles Dodgers. So it's very interesting. And the Philadelphia Phillies are 5 games behind in that wild card. But the Cardinals have picked it up right now. They're currently 85-69. They're 10-0 in their last 10 games. Like I mentioned, they've got a 14-game win streak going on. And they've just been doing it just, playing baseball. That's really, their pitching staff is kind of took a hit earlier this year as far as injuries, but they're starting to get healthy. And this team is on a run. They're ready to get back to the postseason. It's been one of the longest win streaks this season. I know the Yankees had their 13-game win streak a few weeks ago. The Astros went on, I believe, a 10 to 12-game win streak. Maybe it was 11. So we've had some teams that have kind of broke off and had some magnificent win streaks. But this one here is really the most special this season, especially in September when it matters the most. These teams are, like I mentioned, they're vying for that postseason spot. You're going to hear that for the next week as many teams, many announcers are going to say playoff spot, playoff spot, playoff spot. That's the key right now. So the St. Louis Cardinals are doing something very special that we have not seen in quite a while, especially down the stretch. And it's going to be exciting for them to get back into the postseason. They've gotten there, but they really haven't gotten where they want to go as far as deep into October. We'll see what happens. They're kind of set up for the wild card. We'll kind of touch on who they might be facing here in just a minute, but truly a phenomenal story for the St. Louis Cardinals to at one point during this season, they weren't looking like they were going to be even in the October hunt or even mentioned for October. And now here they are looking to get that second wild card spot. So holding on to it, they've got a pretty good lead on the Philadelphia Phillies. But one thing that's very interesting is that elimination number. They 2 games is all that they need, and they will be eliminated. So we don't want that to happen. We want them to keep going. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Their schedule is pretty favorable to win that second wildcard spot. They do play Milwaukee down the stretch next week at home, I believe. So a lot of things can happen. Playing at home is great, especially it kind of works into their favor. So we'll definitely watch the Cardinals as they make that try to make history and keep that streak going. The last time we've had a streak this long, we go back to the 2001 Oakland Athletics when they won 20 in a row. So something special. Don't want to jinx it. Hopefully they can continue on. So that's one of the special things this week as well that has gone on. Of course, there's a lot of things that have been going on, and mainly it's postseason races, which we'll touch on here. But one of the interesting stories this week that happened, it was between the Atlanta Braves and the Arizona Diamondbacks there at Chase Field in Phoenix. So Adam Duvall hit what looked like was a home run. Now, I've got a clip that I'm going to play here that's part of the broadcast, and you can kind of listen and I'll kind of explain kind of what happened after this. So here, take a listen.
Swing and a drive. Deep left center field. How far is that going? Far enough. Did he catch it? He did not. Duvall wants to know, is it over? Riley thinks it's gone. It was in the glove. It popped out of the glove and over the wall.
Yep, he was there. He had it. Just didn't corral it.
Oh, that close to making a spectacular catch.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a home run if it doesn't hit off his heel. I think that might have hit the top of the wall.
So we're guessing Duvall must have passed a base runner. That cost the Braves a run, but they lead 3-0. Wow.
Okay, so as you just heard, so that was a 3-run home run that Adam Duvall hit. Now, there wasn't quite sure whether or not it had gone over or if it was fan interference or whatever. So the umpires were trying to figure out what was happening. So as Duvall has rounded first, he's wondering where's the signal for the home run, trying to get that signal. Well, Austin Riley is on base. And for some reason, Riley comes back. I guess because he thought maybe it was caught first, so he was trying to tag up. Well, as Duvall is around first and Riley is coming back towards first, the two pass each other. So Riley passes Duvall, which basically voids out the 3-run homer because he essentially Duvall passed the runner, passed the lead runner, which null and voids that home run. Now, 2 runs do score, but Duvall is left for a single. So it's one of the longest singles in Major League Baseball history, which was a home run, which was then turned into not being a home run. Weird scenario, very weird scenario, but that's the nature of baseball. They couldn't get the signal out right away. They didn't get confirmation. So next thing you know, it's a 3-run home run that gets a run taken off the board, 2 runs to score. but Duvall is limited to a single. Very bizarre. Very bizarre. But I mean, that's the nature of, don't pass the runner. Don't let just stay there, wait for confirmation, and then, but hey, everything happens so quick, you just don't realize what's going on until after the fact. So strange thing. I thought was very interesting, but I think the Braves still went on and won the game. So, but anyways, a couple of interesting, weird things that have happened this week. But the big thing, obviously, is the postseason push, and we'll kind of round out this episode with that. So right now, when we look at the playoff picture, so Tampa Bay has clinched a playoff spot, and we're starting with the American League first. So Tampa Bay has clinched a playoff spot. The Chicago White Sox just won their division on Thursday. So they won the AL Central for the first time since 2008, which they're in. Houston is still trying to vie for that division. So they're still, right now, they're at 91 and 63, but they still need Oakland to lose, which Oakland will be out of the postseason. Their magic number is still 3. So the AL West is still up for grabs technically, because you still have the Mariners coming in at they are sitting currently they're 3 games out of first, or excuse me, 6 games out of first, 3 games to be eliminated from the postseason. But we still have that to contend with. The AL East, like I mentioned, Tampa Bay is still in it. Boston right now is still vying for was holding on to that first wild card spot. The Yankees, the second wild card spot has been phenomenal because it keeps flipping back and forth between the Yankees and the Blue Jays. Yankees had it when they were in that win streak of theirs. They went on that losing streak when they only won 7. Well, they've won some games since then, but since that win streak, they just went down. And right now, the Blue Jays had surpassed them for that second wild card spot. But now the Blue Jays seem to be, I don't know what's going on with the Blue Jays, because they've lost their last 3 games and they're 4 and 6 in their last 10 games. So they're also 2 games back of that second wild card spot as well. So the American League is especially the wild card, is very open. So we'll definitely, keep watching that, because that's going to be an exciting race between the 2 teams. I believe the Yankees and Blue Jays will round out the season. Right now, the Yankees are playing the Red Sox, and the Yankees are kind of on a little win streak right now. They've won their last 4. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. So right now they're sitting at 87 and 67. So we could see a rematch next week in the wild card. There's a possibility of a game 163. Kind of depends on how these teams play. So, but we jump over to the National League real quick right now, especially in the National League East. That division is still up between the Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies sit a game and a half back behind the Braves, who currently lead it at 81 and 72. They're 5-5 in their last 10. So that's an interesting race right there. The Phillies have kind of come on here late. Bryce Harper has been doing phenomenal. Just that overall defense and pitching, everything's been great for the Phillies. They're currently at 80 and 74, like I mentioned, a game and a half back. So Milwaukee finally clinched a postseason berth. They have not clinched the National League Central because the Cardinals are still right there in the thick of things. Milwaukee's sitting at 92 and 62 right now, but they're 3 and 7 over their last 10 games. Very, very tough for them, but there's a possibility they could still win that division. Like I mentioned earlier, the Cardinals and the Brewers still play to round out the end of the season next week. So that's a race to keep an eye on as well. And then we head on over to the National League West. Both the San Francisco Giants and Los Angeles Dodgers both have clinched playoff berths. Now, the National League West division is still up for grabs as well, because it's currently held by the Giants at 154 is their record. They're 6-4 in their last 10, but the Dodgers are right behind them at 99 and 55, just a game back, and they are 8-2 over their last 10 games as well. So it's definitely a race that will come down to the end of the season as well. A lot of these teams, basically all the teams, when they head into next week, will face their last division foe. So that's basically how it's gonna end. Is how you do next week will determine your postseason fate. So right now, if the postseason were to end, excuse me, if the postseason were to start today, there we go. Kind of get that right. This is kind of how the postseason picture would work. So right now, the Tampa Bay Rays will start in the American League, will hold the number 1 spot. So they will face the winner of the wild card game, which would be either between the Yankees or the Red Sox. In the second series, it would be the Astros and White Sox. The Astros would be the number 2 seed. The White Sox would be the number 3 seed. So that's how the American League would playoff picture would plan out. Now for the National League, the Giants would be the number 1 seed with their record at 155. In the wild card, it would either be between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Los Angeles Dodgers. The winner would go on to play the Giants. In the second series of the National League Division Series, NLDS, would be the number 2 Milwaukee Brewers facing number 3 Atlanta Braves. So that's the postseason picture if the season were to end today and the postseason were to start next week. So this race, obviously, this picture will change over the next 7 days. We can see, especially within the wild card. Now, what's interesting is, say, for example, say the Houston Astros. They are currently, like I mentioned, slated for the number 2 seed, but they can also play for the number 1 seed. They do face Tampa Bay next week in Houston. So they can definitely vie for the number 2, go for the number 1. There's that scenario as well. So a lot of things that could happen. It's just a matter of how these teams play. So we got a great week ahead of us in this last week of baseball. It's going to be fun to watch. Definitely a lot of things to keep track of. So, but that's going to do it for this episode. I truly appreciate you checking in. If you've listened to the show in the past, I appreciate it. If you're a new subscriber, thank you for subscribing. And thanks for taking this journey with me. It's been fun. Another great baseball season is about to wrap up, and we're about to have a lot of fun as we head into October. So remember, if you ever have a question, a baseball question, and you want to get that question answered on the air, we can do a special mailbag segment. Remember, you can call into the show. That number is 210-263-3253. You can follow this show on Twitter at Rip Griffin Show. The show is also a part of the Podcast City Network, so you can head on over to podcastcity.net and check out this show and all the other amazing shows on the network. So that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Take care.